Hello, welcome to this breakout session. I'm Emily Tejas, a global technologist here with Veeam Software, and today I am joined by the one and only Rick Vanover. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great, Emily, and I'm really glad that we've collaborated here for this demo session. When we were planning the event, the previous demos you saw, we had some pretty tight time restrictions. So we said, hey, let's add a breakout that just kind of goes through a lot more. Yeah. We're glad you're here. We're going to go through it. And we've got a couple of demos and a couple of tricks that we're going to do here. Are you ready to get started?
I am ready.
All right. No, first thing up, biggest thing. This is something I personally have been wanting for a very long time here at Veeam, and that is object storage backup as a source. So I'll just jump in right here. You'll see I have a job for object storage where I'm backing that up. And if I take a look at that job, it's really very similar to any NAS job I've ever done, so network attached storage. So the object storage is the source of the backup. So I have in here, I have one object of unstructured data. So this is what object storage would be. And I can put in some exclusions and stuff like that if I wanted to, very similar to what we've done with other types of backups. And what's really cool is I can also make sure that I can have a secondary target or the archive repository set as well. So 3, 2, 1, right off the bat. Now, object storage, this job, is very similar to a network attached storage job that you know and love from Veeam. But let me show you what it looks like from a configuration standpoint. I have over here my unstructured data shares, which would be both file shares, so network attached storage systems, NFS, SMB, CIFS, etc., and then object storage, so S3, S3 compatible, and Microsoft Azure. And if I wanted to add a new one, it's very similar to adding a repository. It's just a slightly different set of options. And if I take an S3 compatible right away, you can see these are straightforward options, and I can add it with ease. The one that I already have selected, I'll just show you that real quick. I can give it a friendly name. I also can drop in the endpoint of it and then a key. I can find the region if applicable, and then the bucket when I build the job. It's really powerful. I will say also that there is a cache repository and our beloved backup I/O control so that we can take our backup without adversely impacting the performance. This is, again, shared technology from the other backup engine that we've used for network attached storage. So I've been wanting this for years, Emily. This is really a big deal for a lot of modern apps that are using object storage, having protection there. But I feel like, this is one, it's probably a big one. A lot of people are excited about this, a new source, but there's so many other things, big things, little things coming with 12.1.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think if you recall, last time we were here, it was for an actual full product release, right? And now we're here again, towards the end of the year, and we have this release that's coming out with just these updated features and enhancements, but it's also including new support for new workloads. So objects, but then we also have the option to support DB2 for AIX and Linux, and then we also have SAP HANA on Power Linux, which I know has been a request from a few customers for quite some time. So really good stuff. And with that, right, with all those new enhancements, all these new features that have been updated, probably one of my favorite things that I've seen so far is the new Veeam AI Online Assistant. So when I went through the actual installation of Veeam, that was one of the first things that I saw. So when you come up here to this top right corner, you have the Veeam AI Assistant, and here you can actually type in any question, right? So like if I'm curious to see, okay, what type of workloads can Veeam support? I could type in my question here. We start seeing a typing response. But what this Veeam AI Assistant is going to do is it's going to pull information from Veeam Help Center, from our different types of sources that we have available, and it's going to give me back a response. So that way, if I'm brand new to Veeam itself, or if I'm upgrading from an older version and I need to know more of what was new inside of this version, I can leverage this cool assistant to give me some good information and and actually figure out what is going on and how can I be better protected. So data protection isn't the only thing, right? I mean, we could do this for configuration of the hardened repository. Maybe I want to learn more about how do I set up or how do I leverage Sure Backup, which, speaking of Sure Backup, that got a big enhancement as well. So why don't you go ahead and show that piece too, Rick?
Yeah, this is great because the AI assistant, I love it because it doesn't take you out of your workspace. It keeps you in the Veeam server. All right, so I've been here at Veeam for a long time, and I love it when we bring new things. I'm always excited. The object storage is awesome, but even old things, established things, are going to get an update. So let's talk about Sure Backup. So right away, those of you with a keen eye can see something new, all right? And I'll zoom in here a little bit for you. There's this notion of a platform being Sure Backup. And that is new because Sure Backup historically was backing up image-based workloads and emulating the recovery. That's what the Sure Backup can be used for. And then the data lab, which would be analytics, testing, those other use cases. But there's a whole bunch to unpack here. We're going to go through both. So let's start with this, what I call a notion of a platform of Sure Backup. So if I add a new job, and if I look at these options right here, this second option is new. Backup verification and content scan only. What this is going to do is ensure that the integrity of the files are intact of the backup chain for that restore point, but also checking the contents for malware. So you know about our secure restore capability that will scan backups under management by Veeam to ensure that they're clean of malware. We can actually do a specific job type just of that. This is awesome. And what's really cool about this is you can also get into some random selection. So if I go down here, in fact, I'm just going to show you the one that's already set up because it has a better example in place. If I take a look at this one that is doing that scan with backup verification and content for malware, I'm having it go across all of the image-based backups that are under management currently that I care about. I mean, I have some other ones, but these are the ones that I care most about. But what's interesting is that I have two interesting options. One's been there for a while. Simultaneously process a specified number of systems at a time, 4 in this example. And then the second option is about a random selection. So process only 4 machines during the run. That's really cool because I kind of like the idea of randomizing these scans, you know, for time and I/O and CPU reasons. That might be more attractive. You know, we'll see, it'll be interesting to see in the community what people kind of gravitate as a best practice, maybe 10%, you know, some number, I don't know. But I think if we can make Sure Backup and these scans more accessible and easy to run, I love it.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't stop there. The classic or the namesake Sure Backup is really around that full recovery testing verification, right? This is really important, especially for the workloads you care about. One of the cool things in 12.1 is likewise, this type of Sure Backup job can also, right here, have the same option. So I have it right now to do no more than 2 at a time, and then if I wanted to, I could also do 1 random selection during the run, and I have a different set of jobs. But again, you have this incredible configuration to do a lot more recovery verification, these scans, in addition to all of the detection that we have coming. There's like no excuse not to know that your data is recoverable with Veeam. And Emily, I think we can take some of those conversations to the new transfer types like CDP and the orchestrator and the other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to your point, right, there's no excuse not to test your backups and your recovery points, right? And that's super important, especially if you're a large customer, right, that has hundreds of machines, and being able to leverage that functionality of being able to have it randomly generate which virtual machines or which restore points we want to have tested and validated is going to be huge. And I think that's going to be a highly adopted feature that's going to come within 12.1. So we started talking about different types of testing scenarios, right? And one of those testing scenarios comes available within Veeam Recovery Orchestrator. So Veeam Recovery Orchestrator, that helps us to really ensure that when we're creating our disaster recovery plans, that we're actually ensuring that we are setting the correct expectations for SLAs. So we know what our recovery point objectives are, we know what our recovery time objectives are, but then also from a security standpoint, when we're doing any type of recovery back into an environment, whether it was from a malicious attack or from a natural disaster, that we're verifying that that data is going to be fully recoverable and not going to give us any errors on boot. So within Veeam Recovery Orchestrator, we added on some additional enhancements. One of those is ingest scripts for Azure virtual machines. So that allows us to do additional post-processing steps, especially when we are recovering any of our on-prem workloads into an Azure environment. We also added on the capability of leveraging that new Veeam Threat Center. So you saw that demoed out by Kirsten earlier today, right? We mentioned that that's part of the Veeam Data Platform. So we're going to see this built in to Veeam Recovery Orchestrator as well as Veeam Backup and Replication. So as you can see, right, mine is a brand new installation, so we're actually seeing as things are changing in my environment, as I'm creating data protection policies, as I am deleting machines, right, I'm having that high risk score change from a lot of being in a pretty good health status all the way down to not so much, right? But this again is going to help us understand what are some better ways that we can better prepare our environment and ensure that we have the best data protection policies in place. And again, that we're not missing any RPOs that are going to be valid for our business. So let's go into some of the testing capabilities. So when we start talking about data protection, we have our traditional backups, which Rick went through and did a demo of for the Sure Backup option. We also have replication, where we can leverage VMware snapshots to do our replicas. But then we also have CDP, so continuous data protection, that is not leveraging a snapshot, but instead leveraging that VAIO filter driver built into VMware. So that gives us a very, very short RPO. So here I have a CDP policy that's been set to replicate every 15 seconds. Now, what's new within Orchestrator is I can take my CDP policy and my recovery plan for how I want to actually fail over those replicas, and I can go ahead and I can run those inside of the data labs. So I'll have the option to select my data lab and then be able to test all of those CDP replicas and ensure that they're going to be available for my recovery options, or they're going to be available for recovery when I actually need it, right? You'll also have the option in here to actually run that test and then automatically power off your data lab, but then you'll also have the option to leave that data lab running. Now, the one thing that's special with the CDP test is as I am testing this, those replicas and that CDP policy isn't going to stop. So I'm still going to be able to have replica recovery points being created in the background. So again, ensuring that my SLAs stay intact while I'm testing and verifying that the recoveries are going to work for me. So this release has been all about strengthening our customers' security posture when it comes to testing your recovery points, ensuring that you're leveraging best practices. But there's also some things that have been added in there that have to do a lot with authentication or authorization. So Rick, why don't you kind of show us what are going to be some new additional pieces we're going to see there?
Yeah, so one of the things that are included in 12.1 that I really like is the 4 eyes authorization for selected data destructive tasks. So I have a lot of backups in here. Let's take a scenario that I want to remove one or more of those. And the first thing I want to draw everyone's attention to is when we define our users and roles, there is a new option here called 4 eyes authorization, yes or no. Turn it on. Do recommend having more than one admin if you engage in this. But basically, there's an option to reject pending approvals. Eventually, after 7 days, they'll expire. But the thought is something data destructive would require authorization. So, Emily, do you trust me? A little bit, enough? One of the two? We'll see. But well, last time you said yes.
Well, this is the whole point of the 4 eyes, right?
Exactly. So
Do I trust
yes.
you?
So
We'll find out.
Emily, I'm going to clean up an unnecessary job, and I'm
Okay.
going to delete it. You should get an alert
Okay.
that this data needs to be approved for deletion. So this job number here, 23, we found out when we were preparing that the immutability doesn't let you get around this, okay? So immutability still prevails. But let's delete this job here, example 23, short-term retention. This particular example I did put on non-immutable storage, of course recommend immutability, but let's go ahead and delete it. Now right away I get a message that this operation will be pending until another administrator approves it. All right, so right on, that's exactly what I'm expecting. So I go ahead and say yes, and right away I get a message about a pending approval here, and if I click on it, I can't do anything except reject my approval. But now, Emily, do you have a different view?
Oh, I do have a different view. So inside of my view for Veeam Backup Replication, I have the same pending approval. However, when I go and actually select my event, I'll have the option up here to either approve or reject this, as well as even just see the details as to, you know, what's actually happening here with this authorization or this action that's been implemented. So you want me to delete these backups?
I would like you to delete these backups.
Okay.
Final answer.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to approve this request, but wait, now I have another pop-up that says, again, are you sure that these have been selected, right? This is okay to delete. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. Now we can go ahead and see that that is actually running and our backup deletion is actually happening now.
Yeah, this is great. This is, again, just yet another safeguard. In addition to immutability, in addition to securing the backup server, in addition to securing the storage, and more. There's so much into that. So I'm really excited for that. But then, okay, there's more uplifts that go into 12.1. And, you know, when we talk about continuous data protection, that's something that has been out, I guess, since version 11, if history serves me right. But Emily, I think we have some enhancements over there as well.
Yes, so CDP just keeps on getting better, right? So how can we leverage those recovery points and kind of put them to work to help us increase SLAs, not just for full machine recovery, but get granular, right? So with our current just traditional replicas, we could do different types of restore functionality. So now that's been added on to these continuous data protection virtual machines. So as you can see, I have my CDP policy that's ran. I have my replicas that are sitting in this ready state. And if I were to right click, I'll have the option now to do a restore of the guest files within that CDP replica. So I'll have this new option to pull out file data from these VMs themselves, but I also will have the option to do any type of recovery from an application item. So let's say that this was a SQL machine that was running within the CDP policy. I can leverage that Veeam Explorer for Microsoft SQL Server, and I can mount that restore point and do a table level recovery from SQL, right? And that can all be done off of this 15-second incremental replication job that's currently running within Veeam. The other piece that you're going to see in here is the additional option to do smart visualization for these CDP replicas. So smart visualization, security is the main theme here, right? If we start noticing that we're having some anomalies that are happening on that virtual machine itself, whether it's a high CPU spike or if we have ran the YAR rules or any type of scan and we find out, okay, this is when that malicious threat has entered into our environment or started that encryption process, we need to start the restore or the recovery efforts of these workloads. I can come into here and leverage this to see when did those IO spikes start to happen and then be able to select from this toggle how far back I want to roll back that data and be able to recover it at a full scale. So that smart visualization, that's going to show that to you here underneath your wizard, and it's going to just be an additional enhancement to help to ensure that when we're recovering data, we're recovering it clean, but we're also recovering it and losing the least amount of data possible, which I think is super important when we're trying to have effective recoveries.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're all about here at Veeam. And One thing, there's still a lot more to 12.1, and we are still bound a little bit by time, but I have a surprise for you. Hopefully you know about community.veeam.com. And on the Community Hub, there is a news section. So you just click on the top, drop down, and you'll go to the news section. Madalena and I record the recap every week. I'm going to take on the special department section of that recap, I'm going to add a demo every week until GA, maybe even beyond. There's a lot to get through. So if you want more, go on over to the Community Hub and subscribe to our news with the recap. And Emily, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. There's so much into it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of new features. Thank you so much for joining our session today. Enjoy the rest of the Veeam on Resiliency Summit.